So I'm at my favorite park here in Michigan. It's a place I used to go for solitude, just to be by myself, think about things. And today's no different. It's right next to a shooting range, so you'll probably be hearing some shooting and stuff, which actually goes in line with the topic of today's video, which is PTSD. And right off the bat, I feel really unqualified to be talking about this. I don't have the typical definition of PTSD, I would say. But I want to talk about it. I think I'll share some personal experiences, some things that I carry with me to this day. And yeah, I hope you find something from this video. So there's two different forms of PTSD as far as I'm concerned. I'm just making this up, but there's short-term and long-term. Short-term would be like reacting to these gunshots or thunder or hearing planes and thinking, oh shit, somebody trying to kill me. Though that stuff doesn't really bother me anymore. I'm not diving for cover when these gunshots are going off. But the things that bother me are probably you as well, are the things that are long-term. The decisions that you should have done. You know, the times where you could have had courage, but you didn't. You were too scared. You were fearful. And this is something I don't hear a lot on YouTube or podcasts or anything from these veterans, is they don't talk about like when people ask for war stories, they ask for, and I find this with myself as well, they want a clean war story. They don't want to hear about the fear and the bad things. They want to hear about you go into combat, maybe your friend gets hit or whatever, but you guys push on, you have courage, you're not fearful, you complete the mission, you come back all together. Those are the kind of war stories people want, but that's not the reality of war. The reality of war is death every day. And I'll share some personal experiences, but real quick, I just want to talk about one of my favorite books. I would say my favorite book, which is The Things They Carried. It's about a Vietnam veteran. He's talking about his experiences as well as some of the experiences of his friends that he served with. So one of them was a guy, it's in the chapter called Speaking of Courage. And he talks about his friend, and he's writing for his friend. And his friend was in this shit field, and they were bivouacking for the night, all right, in Vietnam. In a shit field, I don't know if it was like an allegory or like what do you call that? I don't know if it was just part of the story or if it was an actual shit field. Nobody really knows, but it was a shit field. They were sleeping in shit and piss. And it was nighttime. They were all out there as a squad, protecting the area as people sleep. And then mortars, IDF, started to come in. It started to rain shit. Brings it up and it comes down. And it was raining that night. The ground was really soft. And in the middle of this, these mortaring, everybody was afraid and yelling and screaming. There was one guy, his best friend, where he was stuck in the shit. He was stuck in the shit, and he was screaming. He was having a hard time. He's fearful. And this guy, who's his best friend, he crawls over to him, and he's trying to get him out of the shit because he's sinking into it because he's injured. And like he said in the story that he was fearful. He was fearful. And not just fearful, but it was the smell of the shit, and it was just the disgustingness of it all, that he wasn't able to save his friend. He wasn't able to carry him out of the place. He didn't want to get his head into the shit in order to pull his buddy out. So his buddy drowned there in the shit and piss. And he comes back home, and he's talking to his family about how he almost won the Silver Star. He almost had enough courage. And he almost, he would have won the Silver Star. And he doesn't tell his family this part, that the reason he wasn't able to was because he was fearful of the shit. He was too scared to get his head in the shit. And that's why he lost the Silver Star of saving his friend. And there's so many times like this, and I found myself in that book, like thinking about myself, as you do, movies, books, like I think a lot of people like find themselves as those characters. And I found myself as that. When I was in the YPG, I was on guard duty. It's in Syria. I was like 2 weeks in. And I promised myself this was not going to be like the Marine Corps where I made a bunch of mistakes. I was going to do this deployment correct. Everybody, when they go on a deployment, they don't want to come back with trauma. They want to do everything perfectly. And the only way not to come back with trauma is to know that you did 100% of everything that you could have done. You were not fearful. You had courage when they asked of you to have courage. In YPG, that person, I was on guard duty. I did everything right. I wasn't the person in charge of security, but I was guard duty that night. That guy, one of my friends, hey, I'm gonna go on a walk. He went on a walk and he never came back. He shot himself. He fucking killed himself. And that's not a story anybody wants to hear about. People want to hear about the good war stories, the times where you had courage and you did everything correctly and nobody died. But this is the reality of it. So a lot of the reason that I go back to these war zones is in the pursuit of the perfect deployment, not messing up. And it's the human condition isn't like that. We all know that, but it's tough to live with afterwards. The human condition says that you're not perfect, you're sinful, you're gonna make mistakes, you're not gonna be completely courageous, you're gonna have fear, and that fear sometimes is just in a matter of a couple seconds, split second decisions where people get killed, people get injured because of you. In YBS, I went back there and I was in search of the perfect deployment. I was not going to do it for pride. I was going to go there for the right reason. I was going to do everything correctly, and to be honest, it went well. Well, after the YBS experience, I felt really good about that deployment. I was going to head back home and I was going to be like, I did everything that I was asked of. I did everything okay. But the combat wasn't insane, not like Ukraine. The Ukrainian war started right when I was going to go back home and enjoy the solitude and the peace of not messing up in this deployment. But then Ukraine happened, so I go to Ukraine. Ukraine was a totally different type of combat, totally different, something I was unprepared for. You guys look at me, you see the videos, and you see, wow, he did this and that, but there's things with any war story. There's what people don't tell you is there are times where they were fearful and they should have done something when they didn't. And really the only experience in Ukraine where I would say I probably could have made a better decision, as well as my group, was my first operation, which just so happens to be the footage that you guys all see. And I might release the rest of that footage here this week. 25 minutes worth, right? That was the only time in Ukraine where I really felt like I was making decisions based on fear. Our entire group was. And there's a lot of excuses we can make for ourselves, like fog of war. We thought we were surrounded. Our team leader would keep disappearing for hours and we had no idea what was going on. We signed up for a recon mission, but it turned to an assault. There's a lot of things, a lot of conflicting things, but it's easy to look back at situations and think, if I had just known that we were not surrounded, if I had just known that it was gonna be okay, and that those tanks weren't enemy, and that BMP that rolled up might not have been enemy. If we'd just known at the time, it would have been a lot easier to make a courageous decision. But the fog of war confuses everything, and
Get inside the house. Get inside.
whenever I look back at that mission, it's there's a lot of tough calls we had to make as a unit. I'll just share that footage later on, and hopefully you guys can understand. My unit appreciated me, I appreciated them. I didn't get anybody killed, I would say, directly. That's real life, that's not a joke. I guess what I want to say in this video is that you're gonna have trauma. Humans are not perfect. You're gonna mess up. You gotta live with it. And I don't have the answers for you. I really don't. I don't have the answers. I'm still struggling with it. But I guess what I want to say is it's okay not to be perfect. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to be human. I'm sort of protecting my ego right now, but I think everybody would say about me, I was your average soldier. 90% of the time, I was completely unfearful when bombs and gunfire was happening. I would complete the missions. I wouldn't complain. I wouldn't say like, oh, maybe this, that. I would just follow directions, I'd do it. But 10% of the time I was fearful, and I keep telling myself, you know, I could go back and fix that 10% and really do it, everything perfectly. But it's just not possible. So anyway, I just want to say that in this video. It's okay to be human. It's okay to make mistakes. There's trauma involved. There's things you're going to look back at and be like, I should have done this or should have done that. But tough times are tough times, and you never know how you're going to act, you know. Also in this book, The Things They Carry, they talk about how a lot of people, they think that it's like all throughout your life, you're gaining the courage. Like it's a piggy bank. Like you can just store courage and keep piling it on. Like, yes, I can have courage. When it's asked of me, I'll have courage and I'll be perfect. But it doesn't work like that. Like, war is not like that. There are times where you almost got the silver star. You almost did this, but there was a little bit of fear. There's a little bit of this and that. And that's just something that nobody will tell you. So, yeah. Anyway, I know it's been a sad video. But I thought it would be a good video to put out there. Talk about something I don't see much on YouTube or podcasts about. So thank you for listening. It's okay to be human. It's okay to make mistakes. Do your best. And I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.